Good morning, everybody. I'm Rev Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at this center, and it is my honor again to kick off a new month. I'm looking forward to this one. What are you all waiting for?
What are we all expecting?
I don't know. What are you expecting?
Something good.
Something good. That's good. Does anybody here like to wait for things? No. Or be kept waiting? No. Well, this month we're talking about the expectancy of our good and what that looks like as we bring it into our life. And we're looking at it on the grander scale as well as on the personal scale, because the entire center, all the centers, or a lot of them, are looking at a world that works for everyone. So think about expecting our good in a world that works for everyone. So what does expectancy mean? I looked up the word. I always like the dictionary, and I found a bunch of them online. It's so wonderful to have more than one now. So these are some of the different things I found in terms of expectancy. The state of thinking or hoping that something, especially something pleasant, will happen or be the case. A feeling that something is going to happen. Anticipatory belief or desire. The feeling that something pleasant or exciting is going to happen. I think of expectancy as waiting, but knowing and expecting that that thing is going to actually take place. When a woman is pregnant, we say she's expecting. And so when she's expecting, she's not expecting something from out there, that stork, to bring it and drop it into her home. It's already present. She's already pregnant with something, a baby, and she's expecting it to arrive. She just can't see it. And I propose that the same thing is true when it comes to our good. It's already here. It's already present. We just might not see it yet. And so we shouldn't be fooled by what we can't see any more than a pregnant woman and an expecting father are fooled by not seeing the baby yet, but knowing that they are expecting. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind text says, faith looks to the invisible, and instead of seeing a void, it fastens its gaze upon a solid reality. Faith is not hope. We don't say the woman is hoping a baby will arrive. We say she's expecting. Faith is not hope, it is substance with a capital S. It does not look away from itself being substance, it looks within itself. In doing this, it realizes that the life of God is also the life of all of us. So the life of our good, the life of our God is within. As we look within, even if we don't feel the good that we want to experience moving within us yet, it's already here. It's already present. As my son was waiting for his son to be born, he said to me, Mom, it's not fair. She's already holding him. I want to hold him. So I know that waiting sometimes isn't a lot of fun. And I know for myself personally, especially when I was younger, I was not the most patient about waiting for things to show up. Sometimes I deliberated longer about a decision than most people. But once I made that decision, I wanted it now. It's like once that decision was made, I didn't want to wait for that evolution, for that natural progression to take place. I wanted it right now. And so one of the things that I experienced in high school that helped me to deal with that I would just really not like to wait for things. We did the play Zorba the Greek in our high school. And I was the costume and makeup person for all of the plays. So I saw all the rehearsals, and in that play, it was a musical, was a song sung by one of the characters named Nikos. And he's singing about the love that he wants to bring into his life. And I don't remember if she was too young or if she didn't recognize him yet, but he was singing about the fact that he was in love with this person, and the love hadn't quite blossomed yet. And he uses that example that we've all heard about the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. And in the song, he talked about how if he helped it to come out of the cocoon, he could kill it. So he recognized in that song that he needed to let this thing unfold naturally so that he didn't kill the potential that was there in that cocoon. And after hearing that over and over and over, I started to get, okay, there might be some reason why we have to wait sometimes. I started to put that into my realm of possibility because it really wasn't something I enjoyed. And then that idea of pregnancy again, it was pointed out to me that when someone's pregnant, you don't see it, and yet there's still something going on there. And that's the piece I think that's been hardest for me, is when I feel like nothing's happening. I can't do anything. I can't make it come any faster. And so again, to realize that with the chrysalis, with a pregnancy, whatever it is, sometimes hands off and allowing that behind the scenes stuff to take place is really important as we are expecting. So while you are waiting, what are some of the things that you tell yourself while you're waiting for something to take place? One of the things that we heard last month is how important it is for us to think about what comes out of our mouth and also what we tell ourselves. What's going on in our head? What are we saying during that time while things are evolving and gestating, so to speak? Are we saying that I don't want to wait, this will never happen, I can't wait? Is that what's going on for us? This will never work out. Or are we saying something else to ourselves? I believe that what we say during that time of manifestation, so to speak, is key to that manifestation. Last month I shared with you out of this book, Emergence by Derek Rydell, and in here he summarizes that as well. One of the greatest shifts that happens in our consciousness as we work on cultivating the congruent conditions of our emergence is that we move from anticipation of future good or fear of future bad or resistance to current conditions to a greater participation in the spiritual good that's always here waiting for recognition. Further on, he says, you don't have to wait for things to get better. You're not at the whim of some external power or circumstance because it's always within your power to choose another station. And he was using the example of the radio station. For thousands of years, the world has prayed to a far-off God or used all kinds of techniques to get something or make something happen when everything has been here all along. God has done everything God is going to do. The work is complete. The music is broadcasting, but you must be tuned in to receive it. That's why so many prayers go unanswered, so many affirmations fall flat, and so many practices fail or make things worse. People are doing all these things to get something they think they don't have. But the very law that they're setting in motion, it must reflect back more of that than that belief in lack, in limitation, and separation. This is one of the greatest secrets. That's why I keep repeating, you are already in heaven, whole, complete, and abundant, but you must cultivate the conditions congruent with that truth. Cultivate those conditions congruent with that truth. So again, it's like being pregnant, I think, nurturing that pregnancy as opposed to saying, well, nothing's here. I don't see anything, I don't feel anything, so nothing's here. We're nurturing what's congruent with that. Now, some people might wonder or have been taught, if you don't have any expectations, you won't have any disappointments. Have you heard that one? So we shouldn't have any expectations. So what's the difference then between expectations and expectancy? I think when we have expectations, they're usually of somebody else. Somebody else will do this or be this way or make these changes. And expectancy is that which sort of fuels what's going on in us. Again, expectancy of our good, expecting that to come through. So if we're saying things like, I can't wait, or this will never happen, or what's the other one? This is taking forever. That's the one I tend to say. This is taking forever. Well, I'm just affirmed that it's going to continue to take forever because that's what I'm saying. And the people, we had a couple of folks that spoke last month and talked about, like I said, that language. So as we say that, that's a miniature prayer. So we want to think about what we're saying while we're expecting our good. Can we say, I am pregnant with my good? That's the sentence I got out of this talk as it came through me. I am pregnant with my good. I am so excited that whatever it is happening to and for me right now. It's already happening. I'm just allowing it to evolve. Ernest Holmes said, as we heard this morning in the reading that Martha did, we should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy. And the other words that he used were conviction, conscious recognition and receptivity, acceptance, and belief. And when he says work, he's talking about what we're doing up here, that treatment process. We call affirmative prayer treatment. And he's talking about the kind of things that are going on in our head. That's our work. How we're handling things when we're taking time consciously to do a treatment for ourselves or for someone else. That work has to be done in expectancy of that good already being here, knowing that it's going to show up at some point, just like that baby is going to show up. Treatment to me is one way that we work on getting those conditions congruent so they manifest. Treatment is also a way that we move ourselves into the feeling tone necessary to stay excited in that expectancy. The feeling tone is part of what draws to us what it is we're wanting to see, even before we can see it. So that treatment process is part of what moves us into that feeling tone. And this summer, I've decided one of the classes I'll teach is treatment and meditation. And in that class, we will dive into how this works a lot deeper. You'll get to practice. And I am thinking that if you've taken, I know some of you said, I've taken every class there is to take. This is a refresher if you've already taken the class. This is, again, the more we practice it, the more we get it down how this works in our life. And if you've never taken it, it's a good class to take to really see how treatment works in our life. What I'm talking about in a short time up here will really work through in a 10-week class this summer. So the treatment process is part of what we do while we're waiting, while that thing is gestating. It's part of how we keep our mind from going off into those other places that sort of make it take longer because we're saying, I can't wait. So the treatment process is where we bring in our intention and where we get that excitement for our expectancy. In the treatment process, we teach 5 steps. And I refer to those 5 steps as training wheels. It's like putting training wheels on that bike. Because I don't believe that there's some magic formula that if you get those 5 steps down just perfect, all of a sudden it's like, cha-ching, there's your prize. It's going to show up. That's not the way it works. But those 5 steps are like what keep us in balance as we might be starting to fall one way or the other while we're trying to move through this waiting period and stay positive, stay expectant of what's coming. The 5 steps are there to help us keep upright, to keep that balance. I know for me, I realized when I learned how to ride a bike, no one could teach me how to find that place of balance. I had the training wheels on. My dad would run alongside and he'd let me go. And every now and then you'd feel those wheels hit. Did anybody remember this process? And I had to figure out where that balance was in me. And I think the same thing is true when we're doing treatment. Those 5 steps are like those training wheels to help you find that balance as you figure out how it is this stuff really works for us and supports us in the process. So step 1, I've got some students in here, is recognition. Thank you. It's a recognition step. And when we teach children, we call it the God is step. So in the first step, we're looking at all those God qualities. And what came to me is if we're thinking of it in terms of a pregnancy, so we already have our good. the God qualities that we recognize in step 1 are like the vitamins and nutrients that we take to nurture our good that's already there. Those God qualities that support and uphold our good. So what do we mean by God qualities? It's all those things that we can use as synonyms for the word God. When Ernest Holmes wrote the textbook and then all of his other writings, several times you'll see words capitalized that we're not used to seeing capitalized. And those words are the words that he's using synonymous with God, Spirit. So some of them are life, love, peace, joy. Those are God qualities. And some of the other God qualities are abundance, wholeness, freedom. There's lots of them. Divine right action. Just flip through Science of Mind text and you'll see all the capitalized words. So those God qualities are what we bring in and we think about which ones of those are the perfect vitamins to support what it is our good is that's already here and is being nurtured into life. And if you think about them, most of those words are feeling words. Love, peace, joy, even abundance, wholeness, and freedom are feeling words because he talks about how important it is to feel our good. If we just think about it, that's the first step. That's like planting the seed, but we have to move into that place of feeling those qualities in order to draw more of the same into our life. So step 2, unification. Unification. And that, when we teach the children, is the I am step. And when we're doing this in the beginning, it can be as simple as God is love, I am love. God is joy, I am joy. God is peace, I am peace. There's that strong a correlation. That's why we call it unification. We're recognizing all of those qualities are already me. It's already here. And as I remember that through the treatment process, I'm igniting the feeling of that in my life. I'm doing whatever it takes to move myself into that feeling state of those God qualities. And we actually have the power in our mind to do that. Our mind is an amazing thing, if you haven't noticed. So I want to give you an example of how amazing it is. And I'm taking this example from Prosperity Plus, Mary Morrissey. So if you're in the class or have been, don't give away the answer to this. So imagine that you have a big bottle with a little tiny neck. Can you imagine a big bottle with a little tiny neck? And now in that bottle, you have a beautiful duck. Now the question is, so again, don't give away the answer, how can you get the duck out of that bottle without hurting the duck or breaking the bottle? By using your mind and your imagination. That's how you got it in there in the first place. Right? Our mind can create all kinds of things. And so if you can create that kind of a puzzle and that picture, you can create the God qualities and see that in such a way that you move into the feeling state behind them. And that's what step 1 and step 2 are all about. So, as we create, think about then a picture or something that upholds for you that feeling state of love, of peace, abundance. All of those things you can do the same way as the duck in the bottle. So when I say we are expecting our good in a world that works for everyone, or just that phrase, a world that works for everyone, what do you tell yourself? What are you thinking? Are you thinking, oh, that's impossible? Never in my lifetime. That's just a pipe dream. Or are you able to start seeing it? Are you able to expect that it's possible to in some way imagine a world that works for everyone? Now, if you can, this is something I've been thinking about and working with in my own mind since I first heard it, which is way back when I was in practitioner training in Albuquerque. So it's not an easy thing for me to visualize. given the state of the world and all of the things that come at me, especially when I'm interpreting classes that have to do with world history or the history of nuclear power in this world, which was one of them last semester. It's hard sometimes for me to envision humanity all coming together in a world that works for everyone. But I keep working at it because I know that it's going to require a whole bunch of us being able to imagine that first before we can even start creating it. And so if you take a moment then to bring it closer to home, are there places that you go or people you interact with, whether it's in a center like this or your family, where you expect something less than your good when you go see them or interact with them? That's part of the thought process that goes ahead of you. And can that be shifted? Is there a way that when you travel, you're expecting your good, or that you're expecting, oh, this might show up or that might show up? And this one's going to be even harder because this one keeps getting mentioned from up here, so I want to mention it in a different way. What about the upcoming elections in November? What are you thinking and feeling about those? What are you telling yourself about the state of our country and where it's going? And can we shift that thinking now to help shift it in this country in general? Can we expect our good in November, whatever that looks like to each one of you? Can we hold that expectancy? As much as it's true in our life, it's true in the life of our affairs. So I challenge us all to expect our good as we move into a new election. At one point, no one could even fathom that we would have a person walk on the moon. And at some point, when people were trying to invent an airplane, there were those who believed we would never fly. And there was a time when the idea of being able to speak over the wires and hear someone in another state or country seemed unimaginable. And now we do it without the wires. Now we can look and see the other person. And all that took was somebody getting pregnant with an idea and having a belief that it was possible. Having a belief. I believe that it was their belief and then their expectancy that created the feeling tone and made that possible, made it come into fruition. So then we had a rocket that went to the moon. We had telephones and then cell phones. You know, we have these things come into being because someone believed it was possible. So earlier this week, I got this card. It's got our symbol on it, from Dr. John Waterhouse. He's the field leader of all of the centers here in this country. And he sent this. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. He said, "Dear Reverend Bonnie, I'm including you and your community in my personal spiritual practice this week of April 24th. My intention is to know your vibrant health, abundant prosperity, loving relationships, and complete success in all your affairs. If you have anything to add," he gave me his work number and his cell phone number, "call me. Reverend Bonnie, it is my great joy to hold you in my heart, seeing you and your community flourishing as you bring the gifts of science of mind to the world." Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So there we have someone holding up for us that we didn't even ask for. You know, I mean, it's just out there. Apparently what he does is gets a list of all the centers around the country or in the world, and he takes time throughout the year to hold each one of the centers in his thoughts and in his prayer work. And so he's seeing for us. He's already expecting that good for us. And so now it's our turn to expect that for ourselves. So I'm going to ask you, what is it then that you are expecting? What are you pregnant with? What good of yours is now present for you? And just take a moment to go within. Allow yourself to see that. And put one of your hands on your belly if you're comfortable. Holmes says we must feel the fire in the belly. That's the conviction. And just breathe into your belly as you hold your good in mind. And then put your other hand on your heart. Ernest Holmes says, without love, nothing is accomplished. With love, all things are possible. So breathe into your heart space and allow yourself to fill up with that feeling of love as you're holding that expectancy of your good. And as you're thinking about your good, what other God qualities come to mind to nourish this good? What other God qualities are present for you? Peace and joy, abundance, divine right action, divine guidance. What's nurturing your good right now? And again, just breathe into that. What good are you expecting? What good are you pregnant with today? And see if you can feel the joy of expectancy. And as you take another deep breath, just allow yourself to bring your awareness back into this room. And at this point, that good that you're seeing for yourself, that you're feeling, starting to feel, could just be still an idea. You might not feel it kicking yet. You might not feel it moving around yet, but it's still present. Know that it's already there. Know that there is so much behind the scenes already going on. Just like in the early stages of a pregnancy, when especially the father that's expecting has to really trust something's shifting. The woman might feel some changes, but he's just going, okay, I'm being told that we're expecting. So there's a lot of belief going on, a lot of faith. But know that all of that stuff that's shifting and changing is happening right now to support you in experiencing your good. And at this point, we've only gotten through steps 1 and 2 of the treatment process. And so this month, I am planning on speaking twice. I'll be speaking again on the 23rd, and between now and then you can expect a magnificent completion to this talk as we go through steps 3 through 5. Okay? And we'll look at how this expectancy works in our life and move into how we start feeling it move in us and kick inside as it's starting to move toward birth. In the meantime, I encourage you throughout the next couple weeks, anytime you start to feel off balance, put your hand on your belly and your hand on your heart and say, I am expecting my good. I am pregnant with my good. And so it is.